All right, this video, I will cover ACT test number 35 and reading section. So I'm gonna show you how you're supposed to do with reading section, like as I do these questions. As soon as you see the first passage, without looking down the, the reading through the passage, you have to go to the question first. So it says number one, narrator states, so you have to go through really quickly. So I'm just like gonna read out loud. It takes longer time, but then when you do it, you have to do it like with a skim through. So I'll say, just circle not first. Okay, and then number two, line 83, then I go line 83, and then put number two here. So 83, it says well, so underline well. And then number three, line 14, rituals of friendship. So go to line 14, and then it says rituals of friendship. And then this is number 3. And then go to number 4, it says the narrator speculate the one reason for the bond. So then his bond with this Brewster. So Brewster, you have to pay attention to that when you actually like read through the passage. And then number 5, passage revealed that when Brewster was evicted from the apartment complex, he offered to share a house with narrator. Share a house with narrator. And then number 6, line 64, station, line 64, station. So this is number 6. Oops, doesn't work somehow. What? Number 6 here. And then 7, Brewster moved out of apartment complex. Narrator owned sections have, like this is like bigger idea, so we just like leave it there. And then number 8, 9, only 10 we can find. It says concluding 2 sentences. So line 89, number 10 here. Oops, somehow it doesn't work. Let me try again. Uh-oh. Oh, weird. Anyway, number 10, like this. After that, you have to read through. And then the first passage is always the fiction. So which means you have to understand who they're talking about and what they're talking about, why. And then that's something that you have to have in your mind. And when you read, you have to underline them. Okay. So in case of me, I always underline the names. Circle names, and then underline some important facts. So case of here in the first paragraph, beginning of this one, that there's an excerpt. There's description about the book. Also the book title is Bye Bye Brewster. So that gives pretty like a good idea of like what it is. And then as soon as you read the first line, it says, I haven't seen Brewster, so you have to circle this Brewster. Okay. And then he was twice my age. That's a one fact. So I probably underline this. A bond that have been fashioned out. In this case, fashioned means made out of necessity. Okay. So you have to understand this part. So it's like this, the first paragraph is more about the background knowledge of what it is. And then you have to skim through, read through, and then you have to find something that is important. But one thing that you have to think about here is when you read through line 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then it says rituals of friendship. Okay. Once you hit that, I'll probably like read entire this paragraph and then go to question number 3. Okay. And then rituals of friendship. I mean, it says that, favorite TV show every week, rituals of friendship. He had lent me money and then forgiven the debt. So that's like pretty much like, rituals of friendship that, whatever he talks about. And also I had helped him out sometimes. He said his son was in California, maybe Washington State. He never heard from him, blah, blah, blah. So now you go to question number 3. It says rituals of friendship. What it is like, they just do like every time. It doesn't the routine of the friendship. So in this case, you can simply like read through whatever it says. So whatever friends they do, you borrow money, and then like, like the debt is forgiven and things like that is whatever this one is talking about. And then second paragraph, if you go, also important thing about paragraph is each paragraph you need to have like one specific idea, what's going on. So first paragraph is more about, background, the idea of this narrator and Brewster. Okay, and then second paragraph, if you go, is for the 2 years, we are friends, I have everything Brewster needed done, so much so, blah, blah, blah. And then if you read through line 25, so I could get it done before I settled in to watch the news and have dinner. But things like that is explaining about what their relationship is like, you know. And then third paragraph, often he didn't have anything for me to do, but sometimes he'd have some job. He'd save all day until I got home. Hold this, drill this, cut this, move these over these, those where they need to. I mean, things like that is whatever they describe. So, like another, like in a description of the whatever their relationship like. And then also they get to know each other better in a way too. So where he got the skills of carpentry and things like that is whatever described from the line 39. And the next paragraph, an old duck is what he called himself and any other old man he liked. So an old duck. So, and then it says also a man he didn't like was allowed. I liked him in part because he talked like no one else I knew. And then so it also talks about, how he gets like, close to him. And the next paragraph, I still live in an apartment complex. He had been here for years. I never was clear on how many when I moved in 2 years ago. So now it's going back to the time that, how they moved in. And then like, how this narrator moved in. And then when, the Brewster moved into narrator's house, I'm sorry. And then it's from 53. It says when he was evicted from an apartment. So this is one of the fact that, move in. So he asked me to move in with him to split the house he was moving into. And then I had sort of agreed, at least he had talked about getting a place at one time, so we had reason to expect it. But when reality really came up, I couldn't go over the idea of moving in. And then it says 70 years old. So this is important part because I couldn't get over the idea of moving in. And it was past caring how strange such a roommate arrangement might seem. I was afraid and blah, blah, blah. And then later on, line 64, it says, reading from the sentence that, the full sentence of this one, line 61, I was afraid of getting still more tangled up than I already was, of his growing dependency of making my temporary abandonment of social life with people of my own age and station into permanent condition. So in this case, like nearly means question, I think that the number 6 is asking, station into. So you can just think it as, oh, instead of station, blank. Then one of the hint that you can find is temporary abandonment. So he temporarily abandoned his social life, and then my own his social life with his age people, and then it says station into permanent condition. So then station into is now like sort of like settle into. It became his the whatever. I mean, because if he moved into like this apartment with this guy, the 75 years old, he becomes now like no friend, no social life kind of person that he's gonna be. So that's what he's saying. So because of that, if you go to question number 6, if you read through physical location, base of operation, duty, status. So in this case, status will be the best option. And then continue to read. Next paragraph, splitting a house with a Brewster might not have meant that, but at the time, the prospect means the future, the expectation felt like being pulled underwater. I had just sort of pleasantly floating in. So like he's like just like getting to know other people and having like social life, but then like once you move into this apartment together, then you're sinking down again. So I guess I wasn't much a friend to him when it came down to it, or at least I had misrepresented the friend I was. And then last paragraph it says, Brewster said, you could move in with me, talk half the house, I take half the house, and there are 2 kitchens over there, 4 bedrooms. Standing on the concrete walkway outside the apartment, he was living. It was serious. We could split it up any way you want. His body was short and heavy with belly and thick forearms, still strong. He's big. We describe about all this thing. And then line 83, it says, finally, I said, well, and looked down into courtyard, so obviously with nothing to look at. So think about yourself. Somebody says something and then you're like looking down and, well, that means what? No, right? So because of that, number 2, go to number 2. Meaning of that is no. So J. And then like line 86 at the end, it says, well, you can think about it. He said, house isn't going anywhere. He nodded to the door of his now bare apartment. Play some cards. We went in. So they didn't really settle on this one. Instead, it's just like leave it open. But then, like from the narrator's point of view, he's like backing out. From the Brewster's point of view, it's like oh, I'm living. I mean, I'm still like want you to think about this. Since number 10, like is about this very last part. So you go to this number 10 and then read the question again. The concluding 2 sentences are most likely meant to suggest that. So understanding, maybe the Brewster's point of view, understanding, whatever he's like, saying, but then why he's suggesting that, at the end, play some cards is sort of saying that, are we still friends? Basically. So if you think about this, F, painful realization. Yes, because from the Brewster's point of view and also the narrator's point of view, they thought that they're friends. So once the Brewster earlier met, before asked him that, do you want to move in? Then he said, of course. But then now it is in reality that he couldn't do. That's why F is the answer. Painful reality is being downplayed, which means in the beginning, the first time that they talked about room sharing, they didn't know how serious it can be. You probably, sometimes somebody else asks you that let's eat together, and we just move on. We don't really like get to see each other. But then, like somebody actually like hold on to that, words that, oh, we have to eat together. So then, next time he called in and saying that, oh, when we should eat together, then that's reality, right? So just like that, this is what happened. So up to here, we could have dealt with number 2, 3, and 6, and number 10. So whatever I'm doing is, you have to understand how specific questions are to tackle first, and then like general questions to do later. And then while you're doing so, you have better understanding of whatever going on, and then you do one by one. And in case of number 1, narrator states that he does not really know. So if you can figure out right away, that's fine, but then you can't, but then you do at the end, because you normally you have to understand all the ideas of everything around, then it will be much easier. So number 1, if you read through 1A, Brewster moved into an apartment complex. So that's right, it is A, because line 51 and 52, it talks about, earlier I talked about this, apartment complex. He suggested, split the bill. So that's why A is not really no. Narrator, he didn't know whether he can move in or not. And then number 4, it says narrator speculates, which means consider thought about, that the one reason for his bond with Brewster might have been that. So it's not like specific bond that they had. It's just like whatever the situation is. So he couldn't. He's not really friend because he's his father's age, really old, 75 years old. So that's why later part it talks about once Brewster asked him that do you want to move in together, and then he sort of hesitate. That's why the answer for this one is it's just the age. The Brewster's circumstance evoked in narrator's feeling of guilt regarding his relationship with his own father. Oh yeah, that's true too, because I think it talks about let me check. I can find the line reference. Yeah, I think it's in the first paragraph somewhere. I can't find the line reference right now. Yeah, I found it. So line 17, it says, line 17, I had a father who had easy to disappoint, and also after I disappoint him, I took poor care of him. So that's what his guilty feeling that whatever number 4 is saying. Okay, and then number 5. Number 5, it says the passage reveals that when Brewster was evicted from apartment complex, he offered to share a house with the narrator. The narrator indicates that he viewed this offer as, at the time in the beginning, they talked about this one, but they didn't really take it really, really seriously. So, but anyway, so if you read down the answer choices, A, entirely unexpected, no. We talked about before. B, rather predictable, yes. And then, which didn't keep the narrator from struggling to respond, yes. It talked about in line 53 earlier that we talked about. When he was evicted from the apartment, he asked to move in with him to split the house moving on. And then I had sort of agreed. So I had sort of agreed that because of that, the answer is B for this one. And then C, rationally made. No, they talked about before. And then D, actually insincere. No. Number 7, the narrator claimed that since Brewster moved out of the apartment complex, narrator's own circumstances have. So in the case of this one, I mean, we have to go to the same paragraph that, whatever this one talks about, which is line 55. So I had sort of agreed after that, at least we had talked about getting a place at one time. And then he had reason to expect, but it really came up. I couldn't get over the idea of moving in with 75 years old, and he was past caring and blah, blah, blah. And then also line 61, I was afraid of getting still more tangled up than I already was of his growing dependency and making my temporary abandon, blah, blah, blah. So basically saying that, his situation is like A, improved greatly. No, improved slightly, not improved, worsened greatly. So we cannot say worsen, but then like we can see that it's not really like better compared to previously. It's just like what it is. And number 8, as narrator looks back on the period he knows Brewster, the narrator realized that he. So in the beginning of the passage, they talked about, like how their relationship is, the background idea of it, especially number 8, the line 7. I knew him had become, in my memory, of oddly contented and happy time, one of these periods of one's life during which one complains incessantly, which later becomes a life sorely missed. So on and on, if you read through, and then if you compare to the answer choice, it is G, complain a great deal while it was happening, but now regarded fondly. Yes, because it said that, complaining incessantly, line 9, right? But then happy time. So 8 and 9, you can see. And then question number 9, the reference to water and then land in lines 65 and 69. I didn't see this one when I read this one first. Most likely intended to suggest, so 69, 65, 69. If you think split a house with this might have meant that, but at the time that prospect felt like pulling underwater, and just sort of presently floating in. So, which means his social aspect. Okay. They're like getting together and then happy, but then once the Brewster depend on him too much, that's like, getting worse. Because of that, there's something negative that you have to think about. There's a pulling down. So it's A, fearful of losing himself into further commitment to Brewster. Because he's sort of like afraid of his own like social life. I don't want to hang out with a 75 years old man like too much. Okay, again, when you read the fiction, I want like you to focus more on how you can possibly understand like story of it. So you have to spend longer time to read. You have to understand what's going on. But next one, social science, and fourth one, natural science one, you have to skim through more and you have to back and forth, so that you can. You have to understand the structure of it. The structure of the passage is way more important than the detail of it, because sometimes social science passages are hard, so you might not able to understand everything. So the way that how you're supposed to do it, exact same. So you go through like the questions first. 11, it says most reasonably inferred author reason for including the variety of problems associated with the banana products production is too. So reason, you have to think about the reasoning. And then number 2, passage a description of Better Banana Project reveal project one of the goal. So goal, you have to understand its goal. Better Banana Project goal. And 13 line, this one, main idea of 9 to 17. So 9 to 17, you go, this one, you put like 13 on the side. So question 13 on the side. And then once you finish this, you have to try this question. And 14 passage indicate attempt to protect the banana crop during conventional banana production may result in. So we have to understand the passage first. And then number 15, except, you circle except and do it at the end because you have to understand the passage better. And passage indicate that compared to conventionally grown banana, organic banana are, so you circle organic banana. 17, enormous amount of pesticides used conventional banana production despite the fact. So you have to think about some pesticides. And then 18, refer nematicides as being used. And then also 19 indicate that organic banana often grow in their drier habitat Latin America because also drier habitat, organic. And then 20, the readers have the clear impression that banana industry, so it's a conclusion sort of like not many reference that line that given, so you have to understand better with this entire passage. But as I read through these questions, since I have to read out loud, it takes longer time, but then when you do your own, you shouldn't spend more than 1 minute on reading these questions, okay? And then now, like going to passage, you have to understand the title first. It says passage adapted from the article, Greening the World's Most Popular Fruit. So since we read through like passage, the most popular fruit is banana probably, okay? And then the first paragraph, the banana has a huge fan base and babies love it, easy to eat and digest, sweetness and blah, blah, blah. And then, basically it's how popular it is. So the banana is popular worldwide. And the second paragraph, what the banana lacks, though, is huge genetic base. So huge genetic base. Lacks. That's all you need to know. The yellow fruit, botanically berry, is largely derived from the single variety known as Cavendish, grown on plants that are essentially cutting or blah, blah, blah. So the second paragraph mostly about this first sentence, lacks the genetic base. So you go to like now portion 13 and try this one. Like the main idea of this one is it doesn't have a genetic base. So which is B, not like the variety of it. And then next paragraph, this means that conventional banana production depends heavily on pesticides. So now it talks about pesticides. Okay, a lot of them, fungicide, for example, may apply 40 times a year. And then worse is huge toxic compounds drift run off farm field and posing threat to fish, bird, and all that stuff. So you can skim through the later part. Okay, the pesticides. If you remember what pesticides the question was, it'll be like easier to do, which is 17. It talks about enormous amount of pesticides. So if you think about this question now, C, overusing, 40 times it talks about, right? So if you go like 21, it says apply 40 times a year, and then lose effectiveness. That's why it is C. And then move on to the next paragraph. These environmental problem, along with historically poor conditions for banana workers, have prompted several organizations to create certification and seals of approval for producers that meet certain environmental and social standards. And then, and then it says, line 38, the result consumers today have much greater opportunity to purchase banana that are friendly to environment than decades ago. And then because of that, the next paragraph, it explains that that's the Better Banana Project. the New York base, launched in 1991, and blah, 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 and demonstrate reduced pesticide use and other sources of environmental this. And today, 15% of all banana global markets certify this project. Okay, and then next paragraph, the Better Banana Project improved conditions of all plantation greatly because they use less toxic chemicals. Okay, and then you think about, you know, the rest of the passage, you skim through, you probably understand what it is. And then next paragraph, it says, for pesticide-free fruit, one can choose organic bananas, and though less than 1% of bananas sold in the United States now are organic. So now it's going to organic side. That fraction is growing 20% per year nationally and 30% globally. And then next paragraphs, certified organic bananas taking root throughout Latin America, often a drier habitat. So we saw that, you know, one of the questions talks about this, where harmful fungi don't occur. So now I get to find the question that, you know, we underline the drier area, which is 19. So, which is D. Okay. And then rest of the passage, it talks about, you know, line 980, no, line, let's do from 75, continue. The Dominican Republic is the region's biggest exporter of organic banana, followed by Mexico and blah, blah, blah. And then it says growers even managing to grow organic banana in Costa Rica, where the fungal disease black sigatoka is a constant problem for large producer. By planting banana in the shade in combination with other marketable crops such as cacao, these producers can get modest but pesticide-free crop that commands premium price. U.S. consumers looking for organic bananas can often find them in natural food stores and even main grocery chains for this. And then that last paragraph, fruits that sustain hundreds of millions of people is itself slowly becoming more sustainable crop. Okay, so now you go to question number 11, variety of reason for including variety of problems. So this one is now we try to like make it better somehow, like using organic and less pesticides and all that stuff. Because of that, it is the innovation that we can find. Number 12, its goal, a better banana project, as we read from the I guess where is it? Line 41. It is H, improve condition of worker, banana industry, and everything, pesticides and everything too. And then move on to question number 14. The pest indicator attempt to protect banana crop during the conventional banana production may result in so too much pesticides we see. That's why 40 times a year pesticides can kill people, and then that's why J, and also other crops and other like in the farming as well. And 15, I said earlier we're going to do it at the end. 16, organic bananas. Organic banana. The pesticides indicate that conventional growing banana, organic banana, are somehow more, obviously organic banana are more expensive. That's why it says line 70, line 70, 69, 70, yeah, sold in United States now are organic, and fraction is growing by more than 20% because they can sell it more expensive. And this is like common sense too. And then 18, the meticides is you can find it from line like here, line 55. The uses have been halved in the certified farm, tons of blue plastic and blah blah blah. So so first of all, it is toxic. use of toxic nematicides, for example, have been halved in this one. And then, and also, no, we didn't really talk about much about this one. Yeah. Anyway, so this particular part is more about, how the have been halved on certified farms, which means it is something negative, right? And also, it talks about plastic bags and twine. Virtually all the banana farms have been recycled through the program. Pay and benefit of workers have improved greatly thanks to this. So, okay, so, and then like we can think about one by one, which is bacteria. Roundworms, bacteria, and then viruses, fungi. Those are like, the GHJ, those are like something that we can find it later on, how they can actually like dealing with those to this. But then, this is more about the roundworms, because the meaning of the nematicides itself is the, like, how can I say it? That's the definition of it. And number 20, it says, last paragraph leave the readers with clear impression that banana industry is getting better, right? It's making like improvement. That's why it is H. Now going back to except question number 15, the passage, like which one that we cannot see is B. We don't see any new variety of bananas. They try to like, talk about how it is different now that, they try to come up with better idea to like, stop pesticides and all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and then I'll come back with another video that I'm going to explain next to pesticides. Okay.